What's poppin', everybody? Today we are taking a look at a new Hiya Toys Godzilla figure. This has been a long time coming. This is 2014 Godzilla. Back in July last year, I reviewed the female MUTO, and at that point I had already known this Godzilla was coming. It was only a matter of time, but it is now March 2025, and here we are at last with said figure. Now, we can have a proper recreation of the San Francisco battle. So, without further ado, let's dive into it by first taking a look at the box here. And the background art is a destroyed San Francisco. You can see the military Fort Brody's team dropping out of the sky. It's an iconic scene. I think it's called Angels of Death. It was a very eerie scene. It was really cool. I'm surprised they went with a blue font though. They should have done a red font so it's easier to indicate that this is from the 2014 movie. This side, top, bottom, and then we have the back. Another glam of the figure, and everything else here is in English and Chinese. So let's crack this bad boy open and take a look at that Godzilla inside. The first thing that I noticed when I took this out was, damn, this thing is tight. All the ball sockets, all the joints were stiff as a rock. And I spent like a good 5 minutes just warming up the joints a little bit. Even the jaw was struggling to open. Now, I've always said Hiya is a perfect balance between the affordability of Playmates and the quality you get from SH Monster Arts. Now, I do not have the 2014 Godzilla from SH Monster Arts, so this is like technically my first time getting a 2014 Godzilla figure. You know, the one thing Hiya specified when they announced this figure is that they're really going to make sure he is accurate in appearance and size from that time in the movie, because he's smaller, his dorsal plates were obviously different, and he's much weaker compared to the Godzilla we see now, who is much bigger, more agile, and so forth. If you compare this Godzilla with the 2024 Godzilla, look at that. You can see a very noticeable difference. Remember, this is Godzilla from like the Monarch show too. This was set in like the 1980 something. This is Godzilla from that time too. So he looks very different back then. This is his young days. Now he's in his like old prime days. So there you go, a proper comparison. Now, how well does he hold up next to Mama MUTO? There we are. This is the fight. Now, all we're missing is the male MUTO, the mini one with the wings. Then we can recreate the proper 2014 San Francisco fight. But you have a way more accurate fight here now. When I first reviewed the female MUTO, I had to use the 2024 Godzilla, and it was just so disproportionate. He was way bigger, insanely OP. It didn't really make sense. So now that we have the proper Godzilla from that time, there you go. This matchup looks more like the one from the movie. Now, how big is 2014 Godzilla? Well, he's still bigger than Mama MUTO, as you can see. It took them 11 years to finally have something like this. Very nice. It's everything I could ever think of for 2014 Godzilla. Remember, I gotta take the expectations down. This is younger Godzilla, as I reiterated, so everything looks a little bit older, less developed yet. And that involves his big dorsal plates, of course. They were much smaller back then. I don't even know why I said they were big, but that was the biggest change when Michael Dougherty redesigned his dorsal plates for King of the Monsters. They actually had an in-lore answer to how he got his dorsal plates replaced. If you look at this Godzilla, just looking back at his OG original dorsal plates, wow, you can tell these were much smaller. I've noticed he has a longer tail, I think, right? Because we have the Godzilla we have now is a much thicker tail, but is it also a shorter tail? So you can kind of see the tail is much longer. This 2014 Godzilla certainly feels more like a lizard, an atomic lizard. Now, I think we are going to get a light up version soon in a couple months where his dorsal plates does light up so you can have him charging up the atomic breath. So this is just base 2014 Godzilla. I can only expect so much out of this, and I'm happy with what I have. The colors are very nice, but you can also see it's starting to fade a little bit to the bottom. It's more like brown. It actually feels more like a dinosaur color. Those old dinosaur T-Rex toys when I was a little kid. And obviously, because there's no color in the dorsal plates, the color is very consistent throughout the entire tail. I think this might be a very delicate bit though. The tip of this tail here, it already snapped off once already when I was fiddling with it. So I will recommend you to be very careful when you're playing with this. Let's take a look at the head here. Very nice. The face feels like a young Godzilla, looks like a young Godzilla. You look at it, just looks like, yeah, there's not much going on. Unfortunately, his jaw doesn't really open that wide. That's as wide as it goes. And it's a very stiff joint, so I'm leaving it as it is. It took me a while to pry his mouth open. Overall, in terms of the colors, in terms of his appearance, I'm happy with what I have. Now, articulation, of course, Hiya is very, very on point with the articulation most of the time. Despite the figure's stiffness, I will just try to show you the articulation that's there. Obviously, the tail was the biggest one. Multiple ball joints throughout the entire tail here all the way to the end. So you got the articulation from the tail here. Then we have the main articulation on the body here. Again, super duper stiff, but it is there. It is very possible. Then we have some of the neck articulation, multiple joints here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 points of articulation around the neck and the head itself. And then we have leg articulation. Yeah, of course, move this forward and back, bend the knee, twist the feet sort of, very subtly. Again, super stiff, but it's possible. Same can be said with the other leg here. Again, super stiff. And then the hands here, or the arms, very stiff again, but it's possible. You can see there's articulation on the shoulders, on the elbows, and the wrists, but the wrist keeps snapping off, so I'm not going to twist it too much. For some reason, the ball socket is very loose there for some reason. So now I do wish they had more accessories, because the only thing that's included is an extra set of hands. And those are closed hands, closed fists. That's about it. This is all you're gonna get. It's nothing much. It's just if you want him to be punching another Titan or holding on to something, then you can swap with this, and then, you know, swap out the open hand he currently has equipped. Hiya did a really good job, even with the lack of accessories. This thing does cost 75 Canadian dollars, so is it expensive? Well, like I said, Hiya Toys is already like affordable in terms of the quality you get. It feels like you're getting an SH Monster Arts quality for $75. That's not bad. Until Bandai re-releases a new SH Monster Arts version, this is probably the best 2014 Godzilla figure you're going to get. Of course, if you have the female MUTO, absolutely go for this Godzilla to have that proper fight from the 2014 movie. So by all means, please, if you're gonna buy one, buy the other. You gotta complete the set. And all we're missing now is the male MUTO. I'm gonna give this Godzilla, 2014 Godzilla, a solid 8 out of 10. I'm very satisfied with what I got here. There's really not much I can complain about. The only thing I want now is a male MUTO just to complete the fight, complete the set. That's about it. You gotta give respect to the roots, because this Godzilla is where it all started. Thanks for watching this review. If you want to see my thoughts on the female MUTO and the 2024 Godzilla, be sure to check those videos out after this one. For now, hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and let me know, was this 2014 Godzilla worth the wait after many, many months since the female MUTO's release? And we'll see you in the next review. Peace!